October 18th, 2021. Happy Exascale Day. As we enter a new era in research and development for modeling simulation, exascale computing will rapidly transform our abilities to do just about anything with any connected or remote device on, in, or near our planet. Hi, I'm Perry Carter, Popular Technology TV. As you know, Exascale Systems and supercomputers are able to achieve over 1 quintillion operations per second. That's 10 to the 18th power, or a 1 followed by 18 zeros. So, on National Exascale Day, National BDPA celebrates our 10th month on its 18th day. The Exascale Era will have very profound impacts on all industry market segments, such as energy, health, manufacturing, logistics, supply chain management, all modes of transportation, infrastructure, technology, and our policy. So, how will these advanced technologies come into our village or your hood? How can more data from satellites, sensors, devices, and people, yes, even you, really work well atop new secure platforms in our new era? Well, on the other side of this short break, we will ask a few questions about this exciting journey to find out. Our guests today are subject matter experts and BDPA mission partners from Tedco out of Columbia, Maryland, NOAA's Global Systems Lab in Boulder, Colorado, the Hope Project here in Washington, D.C., Google, the United States Air Force, HPE, which we know as Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, and the Brookings Institution. So let's go check them out.
Getting the cloud experience outside the public cloud isn't just wishful thinking. It's HPE GreenLake, bringing the cloud experience to your apps and data, even the ones that can't go to public cloud, letting you consume everything as a service. So you can focus on innovation and delivering new experiences to your customers. Together, we determine what workloads you need, give you just the capacity you need to get started, and give you the power to add more with a click, while you pay as you go for it all. No over-provisioning, no underutilization. HPE GreenLake works with everyone you work with. This one, that one, pretty much all the ones. HPE GreenLake brings the cloud experience to you with agility, control, and speed in a single window. Clouds, edges, data centers, unified. Plus experts who can manage everything so you can innovate more and get to market faster, up to 65% faster, while developers can deploy without constraints to launch the next app or the next big thing. You can't get this from imitators. You can only get it from HPE, the partner that's been doing it for a decade. For a cloud experience 99% of customers are staying with, just GreenLake it. So let's rewind. Get everything as a service. Pay as you go, add capacity with a click, and have it managed for you. That's the cloud experience brought to your apps and data. Experience HPE GreenLake.
My name is Michele Graham. I'm a freelance business and technology reporter. I have been reporting on the tech, entrepreneurship, and startup community for the last 3 years, mainly in DC until I went freelance in March. So I now cover all of these topics on a national scale. I acquired my bachelor's in journalism and my bachelor's in film from Michigan State University. And then I got my master's in investigative reporting from American. And I am excited to be here today. I had not heard about Exascale or Exascale Day before I had to write about it for BDPA today. So I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say. So Raymond, would you like to kick us off and tell us what you do, a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Raymond Bell. I'm the founder and CEO of Hope Project. It stands for Helping Other People Excel. Back in 2009, I went on a personal campaign to try to end poverty in DC. And since then, I've helped train, coach, and mentor about 2,000 people that now work on almost every major government contract in the Washington metropolitan area and beyond. We have folks working at IRS, the State Department, even at the White House. We have Hope Project graduates that work at some of the top law firms, some of the biggest nonprofits in the Washington metropolitan area. Believe it or not, 800 of those 2,000 graduates hold some kind of clearance, from public trust, government clearance, all the way to a top secret with a polygraph. A top Hope Project graduate makes $400,000 a year. I'm excited to share with you that 38% of our graduates are female. And out of that 38% of our graduates, 27 of them have reached the six-figure and beyond mark. So we're really excited about what we've been doing since 2009. I'm looking forward to sharing more information over the course of the next hour. So you'll be hearing from me again soon. But again, thank you guys for participating. I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raymond. Daryl, do you want to go ahead and give your elevator pitch? Tell us about yourself and tell us about what you do.
Yes, and thank you so much, Michele, and thank you to BDPA for having me on this impressive panel. My name is Daryl Peak. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I definitely grew up in the inner city, and I was the first in my family to attend college. At college, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, where I got my undergraduate degree in computer engineering, and I got my master's degree from Penn State University in systems engineering. When I went into the workforce, I was fortunate to have an internship with Lockheed Martin, where I was a system engineer, and then as a professional, was a system tester and system integrator for satellites and unmanned air vehicles. So that is something that really did help me understand not only the technology, but how it translates into many of the systems that we interact with today. After a few years at Lockheed, I transferred down to this area working for a smaller company, and I supported the State Department as well as the Department of Homeland Security doing quality assurance. That's just making sure that the systems work. And after a few years in that role, I joined the Department of Homeland Security, supporting the cybersecurity mission in order to track how incidents were happening and bad things were happening within the departments and agencies, as well as having measures and analytics to track that information. I had the fortunate ability to join the headquarters CTO's office, where I left as the Director of Digital Innovation and Solutions, responsible for not only startup endeavors, but also technology advisory services and shared services across the department. After leaving government, I joined Salesforce as a federal strategist, helping to Salesforce Solutions, which is focused on customer experience and employee experience to the federal government. And currently, I am the head of federal strategic partnerships at Google Cloud, where I work with our system integrators and technology partners to implement Google Cloud solutions, which include our cloud solution for application development, machine learning, and security, as well as our productivity tool, which is called Google Workspace. Many of you know it as Gmail. Google is part of a larger company called Alphabet, which include companies like YouTube, Ads, and Maps. But I'm really happy to be here and be with these impressive panelists. So thank you very much and looking forward to the questions.
Thank you, Daryl. You got a stacked resume. Can't wait to talk about, more about how you got there. All right, Anthony, do you want to go ahead and give your elevator pitch? Tell us about yourself and tell us what you do. Anthony? There we go.
All right. So my name is Anthony Stills. I graduated from Penn State University. I am from Philadelphia, born and raised. I have a master's degree in computer science. I have a master's degree in national strategy, and I also have a master's degree from Bowie State University in human resource development. I work for U.S. Cyber Command and am the civilian lead for cyber incident reporting for the Department of Defense. I wrote the CJCSM 6510-01 Bravo for incident response and incident reporting for the Department of Defense. And now I am in a new position as of 5 weeks ago, training battle captains and new folks that come into U.S. Cyber Command on crisis action planning. After I graduated from Penn State, I was a Philadelphia police officer walking a footbeat, learned how to fix computers, flew around the country for a while as a penetration tester, working with the Department of Defense and TRICARE, showing folks vulnerabilities in their network. I'm also a Marine officer, communications officer for the United States Marine Corps. After 16 years, I became a civilian in the Air Force, and I've been doing the civilian in the Air Force for the federal government since 2009. And while in that position, I published the 6510, but I am the civilian where I've been with U.S. Cyber Command for the last almost 13 years. I probably need to work with everybody, because this cybersecurity and this workforce development is something that has been a part of my heart for many, many years. And I'm very excited to be on a team with these distinguished individuals. Thank you. I look forward to questions.
Thank you, everyone. Perry, do you want to go ahead and we can jump right in? Do you have some questions you wanted to kickstart us off for this discussion?
Sure, thank you very much. So one of the first questions for our young audience is, a lot of our students right now are either interested in computer science or they're thinking about it. So, and this is for the panel, if we're in high school right now, or even middle school, there's a dialogue out there in industry that is now weighing the cost benefits of going to college, going to a trade school, getting certifications. If you don't mind, share opportunities in those different paths. And this is open for the whole panel. I'll start with Mr. Bell. Mr. Bell, we can start first for workforce development.
Sure. So we have a bunch of hashtags at Hope Project, and one of them is college for some, careers for all. So right now, I want to talk to the kids who either decided on their own or between them and their parents that they were going to forego college and try to build a career for themselves. I want to talk to you for a second. The opportunities are there for you to reach your goals as an IT professional without going to a four-year school. If your goal is to leave high school and go right into the workforce, or I'm sorry, not right into the workforce, but right into a trade school or vocational school to develop some technical skills, in my opinion, I would love for you to start by earning some certifications. And I like the CompTIA track to be one of the tracks that you consider because it's vendor neutral. Google has some great tools out there. So does Microsoft, so does Amazon, as well as Cisco. I think all of them are relevant. But foundationally, I would love for you to consider maybe getting your CompTIA IT fundamentals and your CompTIA A+ certification. Please follow me on social media and also maybe shoot me an email. I'm happy to provide some additional guidance beyond just today. But with those two credentials and a few other skills that you can definitely learn, but if you get connected with us, you can definitely go right into the workforce with those certifications and maybe another couple weeks or a month or two of training with us into an entry-level help desk role. We have partners like 22nd Century. They have a contract at the Pentagon. And their responsibility is to do not just help desk and desktop support, but they do a lot of configuration and basic troubleshooting for the end users over there. And they will probably hire in a given year about 20 to 25 of our graduates for two reasons. One, it's a huge contract. And then typically after landing that first job with them, getting maybe a second certification, you're probably going to leave there and go to a much higher paying job. So there's always a need for the pipeline for other people to come behind them. I love that model to allow a person to get in to a decent entry-level salary of between 45 and 50, but more importantly, it comes with a secret clearance, like right out of the gate. And that is a valuable thing to have as a young person trying to build a career in technology, especially if you're in the Washington metropolitan area. But I also really transcends location, because almost anywhere you go, there's going to be a need for technology people that hold clearances. There's a base everywhere along with government facilities. So that's where I would want to point the folks who have already decided that they're going to try to make it happen for themselves without going to a four-year school. If you can go, great. But even some of the things I mentioned, I still would be relevant, because in the government space, and that's where a lot of folks want to go with the big contracts, with the big salary, they're going to ask you to hold these technical certifications. Even with a four-year degree, you want one of your homework assignments, go Google DOD 857. That kind of lines out the types of credentials that are required to hold a particular kind of position. And they're all certification driven and not necessarily degree driven. So that would be a homework assignment to go and look at that list and see where you fall based on how you want to get yourself into the industry. I'll stop there, but I'm happy to share, not just today, again, but beyond just today's conversation. But that'll be my starter.
Thank you. Anyone else want to hop in? I can interject a little bit. I mean, Perry, when you asked this question, before even getting certifications or thinking about the route to take, I always think about, what about kids who don't know anything about computer science and they want to get started somewhere? And the first first organization that came to mind locally here in DC was K through 12 coders. They do STEM programming, kind of help kids figure out what does computer science as a career look like for you. You also have Coding Dojo. Bite Back specifically likes to help underserved communities and adults get into computer science and just different type of tech education. So just wanted to throw that out there. If anyone hasn't heard of K through 12 coders, Bite Back, Coding Dojo, Flatiron School, all those organizations are local with resources.
So I would like to provide a perspective as well. One of the things that I did as I was going through my career is understanding the information out of the census. Of course, the census is a federal agency and focuses on collecting data. And we talked about certain data points that are gaps in that information. But one of the things that I found interesting is out of the National Organization of Education Statistics, it had a few numbers, and it says those with less than high school annually receive $29,000 a year. Those who graduate from college receive, on average, $46,000 a year, and those who have a master's degree typically receive $70,000 per year. So as far as the advice being given, I think that it definitely is important to achieve certifications, to specialize in what you do. I definitely think there is value in also getting a traditional education where it makes sense, especially for skills that require that level of expertise. And the reason why I talked about this, and I like the college dynamic, is because when I think about many of the organizations or companies that we value, even my own company, it actually started out of folks that met in college. So you hear a lot of startups that actually came out of Stanford, as well as a number of other schools, and they were able to bring together companies just based on an idea. The Google founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, met at Stanford as graduate students. And they had this algorithm that they wanted to do to create better search algorithms. And it actually led to them starting the company Google. But it really did start with them challenging themselves and having the aptitude in order to achieve that audacious goal. But if you think about Microsoft, if you think about Apple, if you think about Google, think about Salesforce, many of these companies were started in the garage. So by young folks that just had a great idea and wanted to pursue it further. So what I would say is that continue to explore your curiosity. Michele brought up some great points, some great organizations. I would like to pile on and say that I even have my kids looking at code.org. So if you want to get interested in coding, code.org is a great resource for you to get started. Black Girls Code for the young ladies out there, they have a phenomenal organization. There's also another organization that I work with called ID Tech that actually teaches you not only about some coding, but also about different features in YouTube, Roblox, and Minecraft. So I thought that was very interesting. And then NSBE. I was a former member of NSBE, and I found that there were a lot of great programs. And also it's your network. So as we talk about computer science, asking questions, talking to those who are currently in the field, and being able to see what is your fit and why you want to do it. Because if you know your why, then you'll likely stick to it. So that's a couple of things that I was thinking about. I had the fortunate ability to be part of a program out of an historically Black college university, Lincoln University in Philadelphia area, and it was called the Impact Program, where it did teach me about engineering. So we started with chemistry, physics, and then we went into math and then engineering practices. So I would say if there are programs like that around you to get a exploration of it, definitely sign up, because it will be beneficial to you, because that network ability will really accelerate your passion around your craft.
Yeah, good one, Sam.
Hi, this is Anthony Stills.
Yeah, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead. Take it away.
So I absolutely would like to just synergize with what everybody has said previously. One of the things that I encourage folks to do is to understand what their passion is and then go for it. If it's in the cybersecurity career field, if it relates to whether it's coding, creating apps, whether it's website design, whether it's just drawing pictures on a computer in general, it is my suggestion to follow that passion, because I saw a commercial the other day where it said, people don't get paid for their passions. And I was like, in today's society, yes, we do. And I can say, as from a firsthand experience, the reason that I got into computers in the first place is because that was my passion, to communicate. And when I couldn't communicate saying something to someone, I put it on in a text message. I don't know if people remember the old Yahoo Instant Messenger and all of those other technologies that are now old, but it was all about communicating. It was all about reaching out to people who were not with me. And so running with the passion and staying in that scope, you know, there's the CISSP, there's the MCSC, there's the CCNA, there's the ITIL, there's the Security Plus, all the certifications that I currently am. I'm an expired CCNA with Cisco. Chase your passion. If it's in the cybersecurity realm, these young people, ask the people who are in this business to answer questions. I'm sitting here right now. I would like to talk to some folks about, you know, what prevents people from passing their polygraph. Yes, having a polygraph is good, but if you can't get it because of something that you've done right now or something that you've done in the past, it's a moot point. So right now, where you are with your age, the things that you do, your friends that you hang out with, the things that you do behind closed doors actually can affect the future that you may want in the cybersecurity realm. I work at U.S. Cyber Command and the National Security Agency to help folks unmanage some of the things that they have done so that we can continue to have their skill set. Sometimes we have to do it in unclassified environments because they can't be cleared. But at the end of the day, my suggestion, my recommendation is to network, chase your passion, make good decisions, and ask a lot of questions. Thank you.
And Tony, so many excellent points, and a couple of resources that I wanted to pass on to the attendees. Another resource is looking at Indeed. They have a top jobs report for each year. And what you'll notice is that 7 out of 10 are technology jobs. And number 9 of those top 10 is IT security specialists. So it just shows you that these are in-demand jobs that you can start looking at right now. And what I would do when I was in my job search is look for the credentials that were associated to some of those jobs. So that this way I was prepared and I had the credentials available or in my particular bag to make sure that I could be competitive for that role. The other thing that I would like to mention is that the National Institute of Standards and Technology put out a framework called the NICE framework. And what it is for cybersecurity development. So if you are interested in learning more about that particular program, I would recommend going to that website. It is called NICE, and it stands for the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, Workforce Framework for Cybersecurity. So it's called the NICE framework. And also there's a cybersecurity framework. So as we talk about identifying, detecting, protecting, responding, and recovering, those are roles that the government has standardized for cybersecurity roles. Given that I was in a cyber organization at Homeland Security, there was some incentives. They had actually benefits being in cyber. So there are resources for you to go after. But lastly, I'll say that Google has a Grow with Google program where you can get certain certifications before you get a college degree that will be applicable to job-ready skills. So definitely recommend searching or Googling Grow with Google.
Thank you to all the panelists sharing. Sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
Now, I was going to say one of the sites that I highly recommend, I've sent to Perry for different internships for high school students, college students, and career at U.S. Cyber Command and the National Security Agency. I also recommend Trailhead for Salesforce. If there is one thing that if I had a crystal ball and I could look into the future, those folks who know Salesforce and those folks who can do malware forensics analysis have a future for the next 10 to 15 years.
Honey, that's really invaluable information, and we'll go ahead and post all the links and everything you all mentioned earlier on our website once this airs on Monday, October 18th. And we'll be right back after these messages.
Today, right now, you have more power at your fingertips than entire generations that came before you. Think about that. That's what technology really is. It's possibility, it's adaptability, it's capability. But in the end, it's only a tool. What's a hammer without a person who swings it? It's not about what technology can do, it's about what you can do with it. You're the voice, and it's the microphone. When you're the artist, it's the paintbrush. We are living in the future we always dreamed of. We have mixed reality that changes how we see the world, and AI empowering us to change the world we see. You have more power at your fingertips than entire generations that came before you. So here's the question: what will you do with it?
All right, so welcome back. So these are great questions and answers that we've had thus far. Our next part will be to follow on with the dialogue as to great information. How do we get this information into our communities? How do we work with the local high schools and many of the associations that were mentioned in our earlier segment?
Every year we hold what's called a Hope Project IT Summit. That's when some of the top Hope Project graduates, we all get together and we hold a full day of educating people about careers in IT. There's one workshop just solely dedicated to how you ace the interview and dealing with the clearance process. Because a lot of kids, especially inner city kids who are not familiar with an equip, can be incredibly intimidating. So we get them to understand what's involved in that, along with how to interview, how to work with the recruiters, how you negotiate salary. That's just one workshop. It's about an hour long. There's a second workshop on the best certifications to and how to ace those exams, how you study for them. Because a lot of people won't be able to have the time or maybe the money to sit through a class that's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So our graduates who've been really good at self-studying and earning those credentials and how to prepare for them, they come in and educate people about them. There's another workshop on some of the most important skills that you need to know as an entry-level professional trying to break into the industry. So it's a full day of getting people familiar and comfortable with pursuing it. And then we also spend time at the high schools, at the junior high schools, doing career days. All of our graduates are dedicated to going back into their schools, their former high school, their former junior high schools, and introducing careers in IT and technology to their old high schools, their old junior high schools. So those are two of the big things we've been doing outside of just our typical information session to be a part of our whole project program in general. The saddest thing about that is there's limited slots. So we may have 25 slots that are funded by either a government agency or a nonprofit, but yet there's probably 250 applicants. So organizations like BDPA and is having days like this where we all get together. Hopefully we can find additional resources and funding to increase those numbers from 10% of the people that attend get to participate, because that's pretty much what it is. 250 show up and then 25 get to participate. We want to fix that. So that would be my response to the question.
Can I interject, Perry? I love that. And thinking about that, Raymond, that made me think about just the past year we've been living in with the pandemic and, maybe we're not able to go into schools. How do we reach the kids who are at home without proper internet and technology access? How do we get this information in front of them? And anyone else can also tap into this as well, but it's like, are we going back? Are we kind of backtracking? And, maybe that means we're slipping fact sheets in the mail, but how do we get some information like this in front of students who might not have access to proper technology and internet at home?
What I would like to say about that is we have to, like they say, each one teaches one. I don't know a kid that doesn't have a phone. I don't know a child that doesn't have access. And if we know a child that does, that we know someone who has a phone, and we have to share that information. We have to go to where they are and uplift people. We have to give them the information. And for those that we see with talent, skills, and abilities, we need to nurture them and mentor them and get them to places like the Hope Project to take advantage of some of these programs that will uplift not just some, but all. And we need to have, I applaud Mr. Graham for having the ability to get the students to go back to where their roots were. But we all as families need to, as men need to do that.
You got to understand, if you're going to work with the young adult population, you got to go meet them where they are. Because I'm of the belief, and that's the reason why I started Whole Project. Every person that we want to help is not an A student. They're not a 4.0 student. They're not already disciplined. They don't have a two-parent household with an active mother and more importantly, an active father in a lot of cases. So most of my students, their reading and math scores are 8th and 9th grade. I'm gonna say that again. My students from inner city DC that went to Anacostia and Blue, their math score is 8th grade on average. Do we have people that read math at the college level? Yes, but on average it's 8th grade and it's almost 10th grade for reading. However, my graduates have an average annual salary of $67,500. We have made lemonade out of lemons. So we can't just assume that every kid we meet who wants to break into a career in IT is going to be this incredibly disciplined kid who's strong in math, has a great foundation from good parents and all those other things that we all know. They're not all going to come from Morehouse and Spelman and Howard. Some of them are going to come right from Blue and Anacostia and still be looking you in your face to help them. So we've designed our program for that young person. I am of the belief, based on what I've seen, talking to students in the community, it's just as hard to leave Anacostia Blue, grow up in Southeast DC and Berry Farms, Woodland, 32nd, Central City, Chapel, say all those different places, single parent, graduate from high school, enrolled in the Whole Project, and in 2 or 3 years, you got a clearance, you make $90,000. I feel this way, and so do my students. That's just as hard, if not harder, than having a good, strong family foundation, enrolling in Morehouse, Spelman, graduate with a degree in information systems. So as you guys can see, I'm an incredible advocate for the kid who a lot of people forgot about, assuming they weren't going to amount to much. Sometimes I get a little bit overly passionate about it, but I apologize because I'm on the ground. I'm on the ground with the kids that a lot of people just dismissed and blew away. One of my good friends, her daughter enrolled in my program. Well, she tried to get into our program. Her reading and math scores were too low. Other people beat her out because the partner that we had said we're going to take the top 25 based on reading and math scores. That don't necessarily mean you're going to be the most talented IT person. So she didn't get in. We had another class just for people 18, 24. She happened to be 23, so she was able to get in. It wasn't as much competition. Fast forward a year removed from the program, she's already at the Pentagon through that same pipeline I told you about. She just left 22nd Century. She works for Insight Global, subcontracting the khaki. She makes $80,000. And she moved from a secret to a top secret clearance. But her reading and math scores were so low, she wasn't even eligible to get in the first class. That's what Whole Project is about. It's about going back and reaching. You probably can't really see my shirt, but it says HP, and you can see a P with somebody on top. And the person is reaching their hand down to bring somebody else up. And then inside that P is a young lady on a laptop because they stand on her shoulder. So we're the kind of organization who decided that we're going to pour our resources into helping the kid who got off to a slow start. So if there's any kids on this call who fall into that category, along with everybody else, just know there's a place for you, and we're one organization who have designed themselves to help people like you.
So
I'll share that.
Yeah, I just want to plus Perry. We can go on to the next question, but I just want to plus one on the social media tip. I'm not on TikTok, and my nieces get on me all the time about it. And I'm like, I'm a millennial. I'm like, I'm not on TikTok. I don't know. But there's so many trends, and they get their news on TikTok, and I'm just like, I thought you guys were just on there making silly dance videos. So touche to the social media point.
So yeah, Michele and Ray, thank you so much. In fact, that's really with HOPE, the acronym stands for Helping Other People Excel. And the hashtag you'll see all throughout the internet is Hope is Real. And the last question to dovetail on this is, Daryl, this one's for you. For ERGs, the employee resource groups, what are some of the ways that ERGs can engage with organizations like BDPA through all of our chapters throughout the country, and especially with our youth programs? We have a high school computer competition program, IT Showcase. There's more synergy now with respect to the junior ROTC units that are in inner cities. What are some of your suggestions for ERG engagements moving forward?
Thank you for that question, Barry, and a lot of great comments being shared today. As far as the employee resource groups, one thing that I can say, both Salesforce and Google have an amazing ERG community, and it is focused on specific communities, whether it's the Latinx community, whether it's the Black community, whether it's the Pride community, in order to create avenues for those discussions. And many students fall within those categories as well. I think that there are definitely opportunities for engagement of the ERGs, not only through speaking engagements, but even at Google, there's opportunity to do matching for donations. There's opportunities to do pro bono work. So those things are really helpful in engaging the community. I've been engaged with ERGs at all the organizations that I've been a part of, and currently I am on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council globally for Google Cloud, and can say that there is definitely an avenue and an opportunity for ERGs to get more engaged in their local communities. And the reason that there is such an opportunity is that ERGs, there's a corporate ERG, but then there's also local ERGs that can also get engaged. So we have one in the National Capital Region, you have one in California, New York, Atlanta. So being able to really set those connections up will be important. That one statistic that I found interesting is that there's an estimated 3 million cybersecurity jobs that need to be filled, which is double the current workforce. So being able to, as you said, get those job ready skills as soon as possible and apply so that this way you can be considered is very important. And also I would like to say that there are a number of resources, and I mentioned grow.google earlier, but it is focused on giving free training tools, resources to help you build job ready skills or to start your own business, which is another avenue that folks can take if they are interested. So being able to go there and utilize that information, they have job seeker links, they have educational links, they have being able to connect with communities. So those are very important and available to you all if you are interested. So the other thing that I would say is start your resume today. And what does that mean? Well, what are the things that you like doing? Where do you go? What are the programs that you are a part of? BDPA is one of them, right? And being able to start that and start that LinkedIn page, that definitely gives you at least awareness, because I've heard many times and many moons ago that your network is your net worth. So being able to continue to expand your network, being able to know that you can provide value to organizations and individuals definitely will set you apart. And Mr. Bell referenced competition. It is competitive out there, right? Everyone isn't going to get that one job, but being able to have the skills, the in-demand skills needed will definitely raise you to the top.
Thank you so much, Daryl. We're actually a few minutes out from time, so I want to give everyone a chance to give a last remark, share a last resource before we wrap up. I'll go first. I have 3. 1, don't sleep on coding schools and programs in your areas. 2, don't sleep on libraries if you need bigger bandwidth for internet and technology. And 3, CompTIA, if you're looking to get CompTIA certifications, I'm always thinking about the pricing of these type of certifications, especially for students in underserved communities. There's sponsorships that you can qualify for in your area if you're preparing to take those. So also make sure you look into those before you come about your pockets. Anyone else have any lasting? You don't have to, but if anyone else has any lasting things they want to say before we close out, please. Raymond, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for putting this together. I really appreciate the opportunity to get on here and share some insight. Definitely on board with the CompTIA credentials and trying to find a source of funding. So we didn't get a chance to mention this, but a whole project at BDPA teamed up and we won a $300,000 grant to introduce IT to the community. So we got to follow Perry Carter on social media, and I'm Ray Bell JR on social media, because in January we want to start recruiting kids as young as 11th grade to sit through our CompTIA IT certification program. We're going to cover the training. We're going to cover the training manual as well as a voucher to take the exam. So you got to get connected with us so you don't miss out on those types of opportunities. The rest of it I'll share with you once you follow me on social media, because I have so much more to talk about. But thank you again for allowing me to participate.
This is Anthony Stills. I'd just like to say, Perry, where you need me, I will go. That's all I have. Over.
I like that. Daryl?
Yes, I'd just like to thank you all for the time today. Thank you for joining. And just to give you an antidote of a story is that a story that started Temple University in Philadelphia was around the Acre of Diamonds. And the purpose of the story was a pastor wanted to raise money because he believed that the community that was right there in Philadelphia was the Acre of Diamonds, that they didn't need to go to an Ivy League school or go to some far off land. And the thing that I would like to encourage all the students and parents that are here is that you are the Acre of Diamonds. And without going into the story in great depth, just know that, there may be perceptions that it is somewhere else, but absolutely is within you. And thank you for this time.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Perry, do you want to close this out officially?
Yes, ma'am. Thanks so much. Great panel. Ray Bell, Daryl Peak, Tony Stills. Excellent dialogue. And we will definitely follow up and continue. Up next in November, we are looking forward to have more dialogue about, organizations like BDPA. We need to be advocates in your community. And so we'll talk about what it takes to get involved, membership, and all the opportunities they're in, and building out that network. And again, Michele, thanks so much for co-hosting. And this concludes this morning's panel discussion.
On a stormy night in Philadelphia, with only a kite, a house key, and wet hemp string, Benjamin Franklin captured lightning in a bottle. Over 260 years later, with a little resourcefulness, ingenuity, and grit, we're not only capturing energy from the sun and wind, we're storing it. So even when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, we're still powering America forward. As the nation's leader in energy storage, and as the world's largest generator of wind and solar energy, we're ensuring Americans have the energy they need, whenever they need it. This is our era. This is America's energy era. Next Era Energy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Exascale Day here with BDPA. My name is Michele Graham. I'm a freelance business and technology reporter. I've been working with BDPA for a few months, covering some topics and writing some articles. I also freelance for Afrotech, LifeWire, and The Plug, covering startups, entrepreneurship, technology, and everything in between. Today I have with me Dr. Carlos. We're going to be seeing a presentation from him, and then afterwards we'll hop into a Q&A. So hi, Dr. Carlos. Do you want to go ahead and give us a little intro about yourself and who you are and what you do?
Sure. Good morning, Michele. My name is Danae Carlos. I work at in Boulder, Colorado, at NOAA's Global Systems Laboratory, where I serve as the deputy director. And my background is actually in meteorology. I'm a 3-time graduate of Howard University. And I've been here in Colorado for the last year. I just started out here about a year ago. And I'm excited to continue my collaboration and partnership with BDPA.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So if you want to go ahead and hop right into it, I'm going to give you the floor, and then I'll come back on when it's time for our Q&A portion.
Fantastic. So the title of my talk today is Monitoring the Pulse of the Planet Through Data and high performance computing at NOAA. And I chose this particular topic, of course, because it is Exascale Day. High performance computing is critical to the work that we do here at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And I wanted to just kind of give you guys a sense of how we use data, how we use high performance computing. I want to tell you a little bit about my particular background and my story and how I got to where I am today. And that'll be about it, actually. And so let me go ahead and get started. So if you don't know about NOAA, I want to make sure I introduce you to NOAA. Our mission is science, service, and stewardship. We focus on understanding and predicting the changes in climate, weather, oceans, and coasts. We also want to make sure that we share that knowledge. We share data. We share information with others. And at the end of the day, we're all about conservation, management of coastal and marine ecosystems, and those particular resources. So if you look at this particular image, our mission actually spans from satellite information from space all the way to airplanes, to boats, to the ocean, and studying marine ecosystems under the ocean. So we hire folks that work on boats. We hire folks that pilots that fly our airplanes. And we also hire scuba divers as well to go under the water. So anything from the surface of the sun to the bottom of the ocean is the expanse in terms of our mission at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now, I want to just quickly remind folks, whenever I talk to students, I want to just put a plug in for the many awesome NOAA education programs. I actually joined NOAA through one of their education programs called the Educational Partnership Program when I was a grad student at Howard University. So when you look at, if you take a moment to take a look at some of our programming for students and internship opportunities, look at that particular website, www.noaa.gov/education, and you'll find so many great opportunities for undergraduate students as well as graduate students as well. And so my journey really, started in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's me and my two siblings. And that's me holding the Winnie the Pooh bear. And I actually had hair back then, which, that means that's a very long time ago. And so I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, moved to Washington, D.C. at the age of 17 to attend Howard University. And Howard University really was, my inspiration for continuing on in my education. That particular picture includes our Vice President, Kamala Harris. So shout out to our Vice President. And during that time, I finished a master's degree, of course, my bachelor's degree in chemistry, my master's degree in atmospheric chemistry. I also worked at NASA during that particular time at Goddard Space Flight Center. And then I was introduced to NOAA. While I was getting my PhD at Howard University. I had fantastic support, and NOAA actually moved me and my wife and my daughter out to Hawaii for 3 years, where I spent 3 years doing weather research and building numerical weather prediction models for the Hawaiian Islands. I decided that I wanted to come back to Washington, D.C., and I worked at the Environmental Modeling Center, doing numerical weather prediction, building global forecast system models, and for probably somewhere around, I think, from 2007 to 2020. So that's about 13 years I spent in Washington, D.C. Before I decided to come to Boulder, Colorado. Of course, you can see those mountains in the background in that particular picture there, and it's absolutely beautiful out here. And so I've been enjoying my time here in Colorado so far. Now, many people want to know what is a meteorologist, and they have many different definitions that I get that aren't necessarily always true. But So, when you think about what society thinks I do, a lot of people think you just kind of go outside, look up at the clouds, and you're able to tell the weather. My friends actually think that I go out and do a lot of storm chasing, when the actual truth is I've never actually even seen a tornado in person or gone storm chasing. And now people, when I tell them that I'm a meteorologist, the first thing they ask me is, what channel are you on? And I tell them, actually, I don't work for a TV station or anything like that. I'm actually a research meteorologist. And then when you think about what my grandmother would think that I did, was that sometimes she thought I studied meteors. And so what I actually think that I do is, actually I'm a really good mathematician, a good scientist. I take mathematical equations and algorithms and put them into computing architectures and write code. And what I actually do today, as I sit at my desk each and every day in meetings all the time, being the deputy director of the laboratory, and ensure that we have the resources that we need in order to do the algorithm development and the atmospheric science that we do to improve forecasts and protect property. Now, at NOAA, we collect a lot of observations. Now, observations really are the lifeblood of our agency. And when you think about the types of observations that we collect everything from ocean observations, such as we put instruments on buoys. We also collect data from the airports. We have multiple instruments at many different airports across the country. That picture to the bottom left is probably pretty much most of the airports across the United States of America. And then that picture to the right, actually, is bottom right, is our NexRad system, which basically is our system for forecasting precipitation and being able to monitor where rain is falling, snow is falling, all of those different types of precipitation that come from the sky. And then that final top right is our balloon system. It's called a radiosonde system that we actually release twice a day. It's a $500 instrument called a radiosonde that's attached to that big balloon right there. And I actually have an example of that I'd like to show you for a moment. So take a look here. You see the balloon. This is me and a student from one of our education programs going out to the forecast office in Sterling, Virginia, and we're launching the balloon for the day. So that orange item that you see there is, we'll go back over there in a minute, but the orange item, and this is a long string. The instrument is being held over to the right, and this lady right here is holding the balloon with an orange parachute. And so that parachute, once the balloon gets to the top of the atmosphere, that parachute will actually open up, and the balloon will burst, the parachute will open, and then the instrument will start to fall down. We're releasing now. And here's the instrument, and it's going up. So we do this across the country and actually across the world twice a day to collect real-time observations such as temperature, wind speeds, humidity, pressure, atmospheric pressure, and all of that data is downloaded into our high-performance computing systems. Now let's continue to talk a little bit about data and how we measure the pulse of the planet. It's not only through observations from the ground, it's actually through satellite observations as well. And so as you can tell in this particular picture, this is the US monitoring system in terms of satellite observations that are currently up in the sky right now. We have geostationary satellites, we have polar orbiting satellites, and you see those red lines there. Those red lines represent how the polar orbiting satellites orbit the Earth. And those geostationary satellites actually sit, about 32,500 miles away and basically take pictures of the planet. And then we have another satellite that's at the Lagrange point out here to the top right, looking at the sun, that measures solar flares from the sun. And of course, again, this is just the United States. Now, if I were to tell you, and I'm going to show you in a second, what the satellite monitoring system looks like for the United States plus other countries, that's what it actually looks like out there today, out in space. And so we can't monitor the pulse of the planet solely by ourselves. We have many, many partnerships with many different countries in order to really collect all of the information that we need to provide the forecast that you receive on a daily basis. Now, this is an image of that satellite information. This is a geostationary satellite just sitting right over the United States of America. And this is really just the overall cloud structure. So you can see the different waves, and you can see the different clouds that are going across the United States of America. And this picture is back from earlier this year, back in April. Now I want to show you another image, which this looks similar, but this shows the expanse of the entire globe. But you can see the cloud structures. You can see hurricanes forming over the oceans in the Pacific, as you can see one going towards Asia. And this actually, you would think that this is a satellite picture, but no, this is actually a numerical weather prediction model that's run on a high performance computer. This is basically algorithms, basically forecasting where the weather is going to be. You see those multiple hurricanes in the Pacific Ocean, Central Pacific right there. So just think about that. This isn't actually real-time information. This is actually a forecast. This is a prediction or projection of what the atmosphere will look like. So it collects all of that information, that data, that satellite data, and then it goes into some type of algorithm, and that model outputs this type of information. So let's talk a little bit about where NOAA's high performance computing locations are in the country. We have multiple high performance computers across the country, no matter whether from Fairmont, West Virginia to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, we have a system in Mississippi. We also have a system in Boulder, Colorado called JET, and we have a backup system in Phoenix, Arizona. So our footprint in terms of high performance computing is across the country. And if you were to look at some of those high performance computing assets, we call them different names. Our systems are called Gaia. We have a system called Thea, and we also have a system called Jet. Now, if you look at how large those systems are, the capacity of those systems, Gaia and Thea are our largest systems within our operational and research high performance computing environments at 5.3 petaflops. And then we have a smaller system of about 1.1 petaflops here in Boulder, Colorado. Now, these systems are used to, basically for projects to track hurricanes, to look at renewable energy, to develop Earth system prediction models, to run our, high performance computing, our NWP, numerical weather prediction modeling systems that basically are for research and also transition to an operational environment at the National Weather Service. So let's talk a little bit about what is Exascale. In this particular image, Exascale is about, performance. It's about the size of the system, the speed of the system. So you have to have really good computing, you have to have excellent memory, and you need a great network to have an Exascale computer. And if you were to look at how Los Alamos National Laboratory defines exascale computing, it defines it as a computing system that's capable of at least 1 exaflop or 1 billion by billion, which is a quintillion calculations per second, that 10 to the 18. So that particular type of system is actually 50 times faster than the most powerful supercomputers being used today. Now, there are a couple of exascale systems that are out there here in the US. One is called Aurora. That's with the Argonne Leadership Computing Facility, ALCF. And then the other one is at the Oak Ridge Leadership Computing Facility, OLCF, and it's called Frontier. So Aurora is a greater than 1 exaflop system. The cost is about $500 million. This particular system is actually going to be released in 2022. And then for Frontier, which is a slightly larger system at 1.5 exaflops per second, the cost is actually, of course, a little bit more at $600 million. And this one has actually already been released in 2021. So I want to close by, telling you guys a little bit about what I think it is that have actually kind of helped me be successful in my career. And so when I think about that, I think about the fact that I've had a fantastic support system, from my wife to my parents, to my in-laws as well. All of those folks have been extremely important to my success. And so I wanted to just leave that with you. Opportunity is the next item that I think is the key. I've had great opportunities. I've had a lot of support joining NOAA. I didn't even know what NOAA was until I was probably in my late teens, 20s, where I actually learned about NOAA. And of course, I've been here now for 19 years. And this picture on the right here is the day that I actually joined NOAA back in 2002 with my cohort of students that were part of the Educational Partnership Program at the time. Inspiration is another one. In this particular picture, these are all people that are past presidents of the American Meteorological Society, which I am a member. And the gentleman to my left, in this picture to the right, he is the second African American to receive a PhD in atmospheric science or meteorology. He's a fantastic climate scientist. He's built climate prediction models and just one of those people that you absolutely have to look up to. And the other two folks in here are a professor as well as the director of the National Weather Service. So inspiration is extremely important. And then finally, being one that sticks to their word, being a person that gets things done. I think that that's the one thing, taking action and follow through on the things that you say you're going to do. Those are really important aspects to the work that we do each and every day. And, being a person that basically, people can count on. And you're going to do what you say you've promised that you're going to do. Those are also really important. So I think those are the keys to my success. And I wanted to just leave that with you all on this Exascale Day. And so I thank you for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. And I look forward to interacting in the future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Carlos. That was amazing. You showed me a lot of things I had no idea about. And I think as soon as you came to talking about how you're a research meteorologist, my first thought when I saw meteorologist as well was like, well, what channel can I find this guy on? So that was funny. I too think the same thing.
Right.
But yes, thank you so much. I do have a couple questions I wanted to hop into. I love that you shared your experience about how you found NOAA and how you got to where you are today. But can you talk to us about NOAA and any internship or entry level programs for students that are just interested in looking at how to get on the career path to work there?
Absolutely. I would first start with some of our internship programs. We have what's called the Holling Scholarship Program. We have what's called the Educational Partnership Program with minority serving institutions. It's an undergraduate program. I've known this program has been around for 20 plus, 25 maybe years. And these these particular programs really do focus on bringing students from underrepresented groups into NOAA. I was one of those students.
Mm-hmm.
They recruited me into the program, and I've been here for 19 years now. And so that's the funny thing, is that I started as a student within the agency, and I loved it so much. As you can see, our mission is so vast, it's so diverse,
Mm-hmm.
it's so just really interesting and intricate. And the part that I loved about our mission was the fact that we actually help people's daily lives. We have an impact on how you walk out the house, whether you bring that umbrella with you or not. And so these student programs give you the exposure, to NOAA's mission, and to environmental stewardship. And that part, I think, is becoming even more important as people talk about climate change. People talk about high impact weather that's impacting us on a daily basis. You look at the floods in New York. That flood in New York from Ida was from a hurricane that basically went from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to its remnants, impacting New York City, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and all of those places. So the mission that we have and the student programs that we have, you can work in any of our programs. I've known students that have flown on hurricane hunter missions for their research as a student. We have students come out here to Boulder, Colorado, and as you can see how beautiful those mountains are, it's absolutely gorgeous out here. So coming out here as a student, you might not want to leave.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Thank you for sharing that. So just talking about this pathway of getting into NOAA with either an internship program or an entry-level program, what type of experience should students, kind of have before trying to land a job at NOAA? Can you just talk about experience you had prior to? And yeah, just what does that look like? What should someone's resume look like if they're trying to get a job there?
Well, number one is either, you got to have the degrees. Your education is extremely important. And I do believe, when I came out, I was doing chemistry, right? And we hire chemists, but, I didn't necessarily want to, have a lab coat on every day mixing chemicals. That's not the type of chemists that we hire within NOAA. We hire more atmospheric chemists. That those types of people go out, collect information, collect air samples, collect water samples, and then come back to the laboratory and do some of their chemistry. And so for me, being a meteorologist, I really want to do something a little bit more practical, things that actually had an impact on you on a daily basis. And so meteorology was really perfect for me. And so having that math, that science, whether that be, chemistry, physics, biology, some engineering as well, is also really good to get a position within NOAA. And nowadays, we're actually moving more into some of the social sciences. And so people that have backgrounds in sociology, psychology, because we really want to have an impact on how people respond to the information that we provide. It's not enough for us to just give information and then basically say, hey, here you go. What are you, we need to give you some type of additional information to say what the impact of this information actually is. What does this information actually mean? And so, having those social scientists be there to help us to provide better communications, better risk communications, and provide that impactful information to you as a consumer, and then be able to study what your reaction, what your response is to that information. Those are all things that we're really interested in as well. And then, from an economics perspective, we do have some economists that work with us because the information that we provide actually does, actually help our economy. Our forecasts are used by, the stock exchanges. So, all of that information is really important. And being a holistic and diverse type of organization in terms of our mission, we have impacts across the board.
I love that. Love that. Thank you. All right. This is my last question. Then I'll let Perry hop in if he has any questions. But is there any open access data that students can tap into for STEM projects, or just anything that the public can access with NOAA?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we've tools that we've developed here at my laboratory, Global Systems Laboratory, is the Science on a Sphere application. It's something that you can actually download on your phone. You can download the Science on a Sphere Explorer on your phone. And you saw earlier in my presentation, there was a big globe with people sitting around it. That's actually installation in Washington, D.C. or Silver Spring, Maryland, where people come and they learn about, our planet. We can put data up. We can put ocean current data up. We can put satellite data up on that particular sphere, and you can learn all about our oceans, our coast, our satellite data that we collect, and then other than that, I would say we put out a lot of data each and every day, and we collect a lot of data each and every day from the observations that I talked about a little bit earlier to the satellite information. You can find all of that data on some of our websites, like the National Centers for Environmental Information. They have a lot of data that they put out that you as a student could analyze. But of course, you got to know what to analyze that data with, and you got to know a little bit, you possibly may need to know a little bit of data analytics and maybe a programming language or two, so that you can download that data and interpret it and visualize it into something that's actually useful for you. And so our data is all over, and we have tons of data out there. And if there's anyone that's really interested in digging into some of our data, we can absolutely help, and I can absolutely help with some of that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. Perry, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Carlos, thank you so much for joining us, and we will definitely follow up with you on that data. Our goal is to get a lot of our students in our high school computer competition programs and the IT showcase and the mobile app showcase to work with those data sets. And also, you may know that the Defense Department is now expanding STEM and quantum information services into the JRTC component as far as outreach and training. So we'd love to have that dialogue as we move forward. And
happy to do so.
Yeah, definitely. And also, sir, as you know, you have an open invitation. Next April is Earth Day, the Earth Day Tech Summit. It'll be our 6th year. And Dr. Carlos has been with us every year thus far. But now more than ever, based on today's presentation, I think our societies now has really basically have taken full notice now. They're on notice now as to the significant impacts of weather, modeling and simulation, forecasting, being prepared for business continuity and disaster recovery. So, sir, you have an open invitation for next April, and we look forward to having you again.
Yes, and thank you so much. I learned a lot. Like I said, research meteorologist. Who knew?
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to share my story, share the mission of NOAA. I'm really passionate about it. I honestly really believe that it's one of the best missions because it does impact you on a daily basis. We do a lot within this agency. I love this agency, and I love the fact that we are practical and we help each and every American out there today.
Absolutely.
Well, happy Exascale Day, everyone. And again, thanks again.
Bye.
Thank you.
Getting the cloud experience outside the public cloud isn't just wishful thinking. It's HPE GreenLake, bringing the cloud experience to your apps and data, even the ones that can't go to public cloud, letting you consume everything as a service. So you can focus on innovation and delivering new experiences to your customers. Together, we determine what workloads you need, give you just the capacity you need to get started, and give you the power to add more with a click, while you pay as you go for it all. No over-provisioning, no underutilization. HPE GreenLake works with everyone you work with. This one, that one, pretty much all the ones. HPE GreenLake brings the cloud experience to you with agility, control, and speed in a single window. Clouds, edges, data centers, unified. Plus experts who can manage everything so you can innovate more. And get to market faster, up to 65% faster, while developers can deploy without constraints. To launch the next app or the next big thing. You can't get this from imitators. You can only get it from HPE, the partner that's been doing it for a decade. For a cloud experience 99% of customers are staying with. Just GreenLake it. So let's rewind. Get everything as a service, pay as you go, add capacity with a click, and have it managed for you. That's the cloud experience brought to your apps and data. Experience HPE GreenLake.
Exascale computers will provide unprecedented processing power and memory so that our researchers in Maryland can perform very large-scale simulations. These exascale computers will address new and greater demands for higher speed and congestion control for these larger data-intensive and AI workloads. Our researchers will have very powerful compute to improve modeling, simulation, and data-intensive workloads. They will have supercharged artificial intelligence capabilities to support big data and image-intensive workloads. For tech startups and innovators venturing into this space, we have an organization in Maryland known as Tedco, which provides funding, resources, and connections that early-stage technology and life sciences companies will certainly need to thrive in Maryland and throughout our Exascale era. With us today is Ms. Tammy Thomas, Tedco's Chief Marketing and Communications Officer. Tammy, happy Exascale Day. So let's discover more. So how are you doing today, Tammy?
We're doing fabulous, Perry. Absolutely fabulous. It's a great day to be in Maryland.
Yes, ma'am, it is, it is. So let's get right into this. Tell us about Tedco. And for those of us that are thinking about starting businesses, relocating to Maryland, if you can share some success stories as well.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. Let's see. The Maryland Technology Development Corporation, or better known as Tedco, has been around since for 23 years. We are what's called an instrumentality of the state. What we do is we facilitate the creation of businesses and we support their growth in all regions of Maryland. Tedco's role is to be Maryland's leading source of funding for early stage technology-based businesses. We also provide these businesses with assistance to entrepreneurs throughout the state. And we're also here to foster what's called technology transfer and commercialization from the state's universities and federal labs.
And talking about state, when we talk about the state university, for example,
Yes.
how many of the HBCUs in Maryland actually have started working with Tedco or some of the small businesses that Tedco supports?
Well, we interact with all of the HBCUs in the state. We have one program, a formalized program called the Maryland Innovation Initiative, where it helps to do startup companies from our research institutions. And Morgan State University is one of those institutions. It's 5 schools that we work with there. It's Morgan State University, Johns Hopkins University, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMB, and University of Maryland College Park. And again, Morgan State is one of those. But we also have a pilot program that's coming out of the Maryland Innovation Initiative where we work with 2 comprehensive universities. One of those is an HBCU, Bowie State University, that's located in Prince George's, and also Salisbury University.
Now, for Tedco's mission, some of the research and development, when you mention research, walk us through for startup companies, do they have access to, does Tedco facilitate access to those research schools or research initiatives? And if you don't mind, share with us some of the resources that are available through Tedco for startups or small businesses.
Sure. So if I go back to what's Tedco's mission and how we can leverage our resources, I would say our mission is to enhance economic empowerment by fostering an inclusive and entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. So basically, in a nutshell, what we do is we identify, we invest in, and we help grow technology-based companies in Maryland. So how do we do that? We support our entrepreneurs through various resources. We have programs. Some of the programs we have are the network advisors, where we have thought leaders throughout the state that can provide pro bono consultation and advice to our startup companies. We have the Startup Orientation Forum, where we have basically a forum that helps entrepreneurs identify, help them walk them through the ideation, when they come up with an idea, all the way to what are some of the funding mechanisms that they'll have access to once they even have revenue. We have a program called the Prelude Pitch for those entrepreneurs that need some help with pitching. A lot of times these might even be companies that are pre-revenue. We also have market search databases for those that are working on their business plans but need access to information for competitive analysis, and they don't have the infrastructure to access these expensive but very resourceful databases. They can come to Tedco for that, and this is all for free. We have specialized roundtables like for women or for IT that these CEOs can be a part of, to be with peers to talk about ways in which they can grow their companies. And we also have other tools like the marketing toolkit that companies can use to, create their own press releases. We also have events that help our entrepreneurs grow. We have webinars, open forums, information sessions, and we also have what's known as the Tedco's Entrepreneur Expo that happens once a year, where we bring the Maryland innovation ecosystems together, the innovation ecosystem that helps our entrepreneurs, our startup companies grow. Yeah, I think that's some of the examples.
Those are great. And along those lines, talk to us about if, I know you covered it as far as resources, but where do they go to get support for intellectual property or law clinics? Legal support, things of that
So
nature.
we have that. Yeah, the state is a robust state, but I should have mentioned, it's like I talked about our wraparound support resources, but I didn't go into detail about some of our actual funding programs. So we have pre-seed programs all the way to a Series A program. So I'll just briefly mention some of those. On the investment side, we have the Rural Business Innovation Initiative, where we have mentors that are in what's called the rural regions of the state. And these mentors are there to help our startup companies with their ideation, their business plans, but also if they get to the point where they need the first inflection of institutional funds, we have investments for them. We also have a program called the Builder Fund that's for socially and economically disadvantaged entrepreneurs anywhere in the state. And again, this is pre-seed fund. So the money that we have that we invest in the companies is up to $200,000 for that program. And it also has wraparound services for it. Then we have a little bit later stage fund called seed funds. And under this funding program, we have 4 different types of investments for companies. We have a specific fund called the Life Science Investment Fund for life science companies. We have a cybersecurity investment fund. We have a technology commercialization fund that's agnostic. And we also have a gap fund. And that's a little bit further stage seed fund, but it's before you would get to our Maryland Venture Fund. So the gap fund is up to about $500,000 in investment, and then you would be eligible for what's our Maryland Venture Fund, which is an evergreen. The companies are more seasoned and more advanced in their product life cycle. Now, you had mentioned some of the other resources that companies might need. We have partnerships with other entities that provide help with like patents. There's the law school, University of Maryland Law School. They have a program for that, but we actually, not to give a slight plug to one of our startup companies that we just recently invested in, is called IPGen. It's a platform that helps companies identify resources for their patents. So you can have the private industry way, going with a company that provides it, but there's also some free resources at the different universities and other associations that provide ways for companies to grow, like access to lawyers to help you with your patents. And again, the program that I mentioned, the network advisors, we have different experts for different industries, including lawyers that can provide some pro bono work, some pro bono advice on issues like, or initiatives like your patents, needing a patent or a trademark.
That's awesome. So now, as you know, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And if you can share with us maybe some of the highlights, recent highlights or success stories that you've had recently, or some of the new initiatives that that are actually coming out in Maryland that entrepreneurs and startups may be interested in.
Well, I know that for those that are for the Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we have in Maryland what's called the Maryland Technology Internship Program. So it's funding provided by the state to technology-based businesses and state and local agencies that offers paid internships. And these interns are hired from several HBCUs as well, since we have an HBCU focus here. There's also a new initiative. It's not a new initiative, but that I just mentioned before by Maryland, Tedco's Maryland Innovation Initiative, which partners with those 5 Maryland institutions. The fund is focused on promoting the commercialization of research conducted by the universities, and it leverages these institutions' unique strengths. And many of those institutions have cybersecurity in their as a strength, particularly UMBC, Morgan State, and College Park. So those entities always have some type of program or initiative that's new or enhanced that's coming out that focuses on cybersecurity. I know Bowie State University recently held a virtual HBCU entrepreneurship conference, and some of the initiatives that they had highlighted were focused on cybersecurity. And again, like I mentioned before, Tedco has a specialized investment fund for cybersecurity, and it's open year round until we use up the funds in that particular program. So if you go to our website, tedcomd.com, and you go to the seed funds program, you'll be able to apply for funds specifically for cybersecurity companies.
And Tammy, that's awesome. Now, finally, as we wrap up, tell us about TED Talks, and then why entrepreneurs and students should continue to tune in, and basically, how do they stay connected with Tedco? I know you mentioned the website, but sometimes we need to build relationships and nurture relationships. So in closing, just share with us best practices that you've seen entrepreneurs, students, and how the Tedco Talks helps that.
Okay, so Tedco Talks is a new virtual series that's hosted by Tedco's CEO, Troy Lamel Stovall, who's actually has a background in electrical engineering. He interviews different thought leaders throughout the state and our region that talks about resources for entrepreneurs to help them grow their business. We have guests from higher ed. They can be presidents of universities to CEOs of venture capitalist firms, or perhaps leaders of economic development agencies that have access to grants and other resources for startup companies. So it's really good for anybody to listen in on one of the Tedco Talks. And if you go to our website, you'll be able to see who are some of the speakers, and you'll get a caption of what kind of industry that they're representing. For instance, we had Julie Linzer. She is the Chief Innovation Officer from College Park. And so she talked about all of the different things that College Park is doing, like how they're specializing in quantum physics and how that can help with not only innovation, but raising the quality of life for, people in a certain region. We also had Shalonda Stokes on from Downtown Business Partnership, and she was able to talk about the different resources and funding mechanisms that are in Baltimore for entrepreneurs that are looking to either grow, start, or move from another state and come to Baltimore to start their companies. We had Claire Rhoda on, who she's over a fund from the University System of Maryland called the Momentum Fund. And so she talked about the different funding mechanisms that she has, and she highlighted some of the companies that that fund has invested in. So not only is it good for you to listen to the Tedco Talks for resources, but you also find who are the point of contacts that you need to reach out to get access to these resources. One of the more prominent ones that we had too is Kelly Schultz. She is the secretary of the Maryland Department of Commerce. You can't get a bigger agency that has so many resources for companies to grow, or for people that might live outside the state of Maryland, but they're looking to come here or come on the East Coast to grow their business. And Commerce has a slew of resources. And so Kelly talks about those. We have people from the banking industry that talks about line of credit or other type of initiatives that they have for the community and how they can help community-based organizations grow. So yes, it really is a great resource. It's free. We have them all posted on the website, so you can go and look at them 24/7. So that's a new program that we thought we would push, especially during the pandemic, for people to get to know folks and know these different organizations and what they have to offer when you can't physically go to a lot of events to find out who's doing what. So that's what Tedco Talks, that's what that series is all about. And I'm the executive producer for that program, so I might be a little biased, but really we think it's really touching folks. We're getting a lot of requests to even be on the show because it's helping other organizations push out the information to diverse populations so that they can get access to these resources. And I think, Perry, you were asking how are other ways that people can stay in touch with Tedco? Well, especially during these challenging times when it's kind of hard for us to be in person a lot, we have various mechanisms that people can stay in touch and stay tuned to Tedco virtually. So we have a LinkedIn page that we post daily, different information about not only resources about Tedco, about all of our funding initiatives, but we partner with so many economic development institutions and different business chambers and organizations about their resources. For instance, we put information up there about BGE, utility organization that has funding for businesses. We have put information about Commerce, or there's the Maryland Technology Council that is very strong. That technology association in Maryland, I think, is stronger than any other technology association in the nation. And they have a slew of resources. In fact, a lot of they have access to advisors for free that can help companies grow. So we put information out there about that on our social media platforms. That's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We also have a newsletter that goes out monthly that people can subscribe to. That's if you go to our website, you go to the bottom, you'll see the link for subscribing to our newsletter. And most of the time, it has information about not only the funding mechanisms and some other business resources, but we also try and highlight specific events that are coming up that people can get to know folks that are over the funds or over some type of resources so that they can expand their network. And we also have information sessions and webinars that we put out on our website. So if you go to our online calendar, you can sign up for any of those. And a lot of times you're able to not only interact with people that are like-minded, that are trying to grow their businesses or move forward with the idea to start a company, but in real time, you get to ask questions of the actual program managers over these funds. So it's kind of nice that you get access from a virtual standpoint of people over the money, but it's like you don't have to get in your car to get to us, right? You can be anywhere in the world and ask questions to Tedco thought leaders on how to help grow your business.
That's very exciting, Tammy. And again, I really appreciate the input today. It's very insightful. And we definitely encourage young men and women to get started, and they know where to reach. And it looks like Maryland is definitely ready for the Exascale era. So
Yes,
thank you so
that's
much.
true.
Pardon me?
Thank you. And I was going to say, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention, because I mentioned the Maryland Innovation Initiative, but we also have another technology transfer type of program that's unique that might not be in a lot of other states, and it's called the Maryland Stem Cell Research Fund. So we have a way of providing funds to corporations that aren't even based in Maryland, but are looking to do their clinical trials in Maryland. So they can compete for funds from this particular initiative. And again, it's the Maryland Stem Cell Research Fund. So that's another one for people's consideration. And scientists can go after the grant money from this program as well. So if you're at one of these research institutions, you should look us up if you're doing research with stem cell.
And again,
sorry, I just had to remember that one.
But again, just to clarify for our audience, that's both in Maryland as well as research institutions that are anywhere in,
Right.
outside of Maryland.
Yep. But if you're looking to do your clinical trial, so we have that program administers about $8 million a year. And it's different cycles. So you'll have to come to our website to find out the cycles for that. So depending on some programs with the funding, it's a rolling basis for your applications. But some of them, it is the deadlines are specific to a particular funding cycle. So, just come to the site to see what all we have going on, or again, follow us on social media because we put information out, we push information out that way, or sign up for our newsletter. And sometimes we have new funding that might only be around for a short period of time. So again, it's good for you to check out our website. To give an example of that, one that just closed out is, we called it affectionately the Rubric program. And Rubric stood for Rural and Underserved Business Recovery from Impact of COVID-19. And that initiative was less than a year, and it was $5 million. So we pushed it out quickly. We had open applications. It said who all could were eligible to apply for the money, but it was a quick turnaround. It was $100,000 per company, and it was to help those that was the hardest hit by COVID. And that was Maryland based though, so you would have had your company headquartered in Maryland. So again, want to consider Maryland if you're listening to me and you're not from our state. This is the best state to grow a startup, the best state. And then that's from a Tedco standpoint of view, but then our sister institutions like the Maryland Department of Commerce will help you grow as you get past the stage of our investments. They're here to help you stay here. Okay.
When I chose to go to the Air Force Academy, people asked if I was going to be a pilot. Sure, I could do that. I can also be an engineer. I can be a doctor or a lawyer. I can work with missiles or satellites. I can become an astronaut, a Rhodes Scholar, or a 4-star general. I can be an Olympian, or even a national hero. So yeah, I can be a pilot. At the Air Force Academy, I can be anything.
So welcome back. We're here with Tammy Thomas, and we have some success stories here in Maryland. Again, Maryland is very blessed to have infrastructure, R&D, talent acquisition already here in the state. So Tammy, I understand you brought a few examples to share with us today.
Definitely. Thank you, Perry. I'd like to at least give 2 more highlights, because I mentioned one of our companies early in the conversation. So one is, the second one is Virilox Therapeutics. And this is a great success story out of NIH. NIH loves us in Maryland. In fact, one of our research institutions, Johns Hopkins University, is the #1 recipient of NIH funding. But anyway, let's talk about Virilox, which is a success story out of NIH. It's a biotechnology company that develops first-in-class small molecule therapeutics that treat the underlying pathologies of diseases with significant unmet medical needs. They recently closed on a $16.6 million Series A round, and they received investments from various Tedco funds. Tedco is usually the first institutional investor into these companies. And when Virilox came to us, they got money from 3 of our funds: the Life Science Investment Fund, our Rural Pre-Seed Fund, and the Maryland Venture Fund. So we're very proud of Virilox for going on for follow-on funding for more than $15 million. The third company that I'll mention, because I had already mentioned the IP Gen earlier that can help out with patents, but this company is Bullfrog Ai. Now, this is a success story out of Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, another reason for you to be in Maryland. Johns Hopkins APL is a powerhouse. So Bullfrog AI is a precision pharmaceutical company built around artificial intelligence platform that enables biopharmaceutical companies to be more successful in their clinical development programs. And they received an investment from Tedco's Life Sciences Investment Fund. So again, this is to help biopharmaceutical companies to be more successful in their clinical development programs. And if you'll remember, I had also mentioned one of Tedco's programs called the Maryland Stem Cell Research Fund. So you could be a company outside of Maryland. If you're doing your clinical trials in Maryland, you should apply for funding from that program.
Thanks, Tammy. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, we'll be back right after these messages.
Well, I saw my community struggling, and I saw people struggling unnecessarily. We needed to find a way to get people employed. We found so many people struggling, and there wasn't a lot of solutions out there for them. And I'm talking about people as young as 18 and people as old as 60 and everybody in between. So we decided to do something about it.
I was working at McDonald's. I was working the overnight shift. I was actually a production manager, only making $8.20. I remember being upset about going to my manager and saying, you know, I'm a manager, I should be making more. And I was making a big fuss about 50 cents.
I was told of the program through a veterans employment counselor. I've been in the IT field for a lot of years, but I didn't have any certifications, and that's sort of a must.
Before the whole project, I was essentially stuck. I had my wife and my child. We were living in my in-laws' basement. I didn't have a job at the moment. I luckily got a part-time job at Target, and it was putting a strain on my marriage and family. It wasn't a pretty good time.
So the whole project is an IT training program that's dedicated to creating world-class entry-level IT professionals. So our students work on major government contracts all over the Washington metropolitan area. Their average salaries right now is almost $43,000 a year. Some of our graduates have as many as 7 certifications.
Well, the first information session, I believe it was over 200 people. So when he came out and said that we only have 20 slots, I was like, that was kind of discouraging, but that didn't discourage me. I definitely did try. And then after I didn't make it the first time, I still kept hearing the success, and I was like, well, I'm going to get into this program the next time he has an information session.
I went online, found out about the info session that they were having. The amount of people that were there and the fact that I heard Raymond Bell, the passion that he had describing it and the stories that he was saying, it was genuine. You could tell he was really honest and genuine with everything he was saying. So his passion made me want to pursue trying to get into the whole project.
Whole project training is very different because what we're doing is we're making sure that a person leaves here and they can contribute to an organization immediately. There's no need for them to take basic training or professional development training once they arrive on a job because they learn that here. So this is not just a bunch of technical or computer training. It really is a all-encompassing, holistic approach to preparing a person to be a professional.
One of the things that Ray does with his students before they even ever touch the technology is he focuses on the soft skills. Hope students have come to visit us at our local chapter meetings. So in November we had a social media meeting, and Ray brought about, I think, 25 or so students, and it was amazing to see this group of 25 students intermingled with the area professionals, and you could just see them making the connections that will last beyond the class.
They seem to fit in seamlessly into corporate America, and that's a big component. You can have the skills, but if you don't know how to assimilate into a corporate environment, you're not going to blend with the corporate culture as well. And that's a big challenge for people who haven't had a job before, and this is their first chance at working in professional computing enterprise.
We've been working with Ray and his team for about 2 years now. We like working with the Hope Project students because when they come to the table, they're a full package of a candidate. When they come to us, they not only have the technical skills, but they've learned how to be professional, and they bring that whole level of soft skills that doesn't always come with candidates sometimes that walk through your door.
Most IT programs or curriculums, they solely teach the aspects of information technology, and some of them don't even do that. They give you a book and tell you that there'll be a test on Friday. With this program, not only do you learn about the different aspects of information technology, but you get a life skill training, you get presentation training, customer service training. Those things they are intangible, something you can't see, but something that will enhance your ability to land that job.
It's not about the actual money. It's not necessarily about how many people can we get into the seats. It's how many people can we educate? How many options can we give them? How many people get employed at the end of the day? What we're working here is to educate people and get them employed. That's the goal here at the Hope Project.
The United Planning Organization's mission is to unite people with opportunities. Primarily, our task is to engage individuals in opportunities that create sustainable long-term employment. Hope has provided an opportunity for individuals to access a workforce environment that leads to careers, long-term sustainable employment that ultimately will move them and their families to self-sufficiency.
We've been around since 2009, and we have documented every single thing that we've done. We've built relationships with all the major government agencies, all the major help desk organizations, all the major staffing agencies. Literally, we get calls every week from some staffing agency looking for our talent. And now we're in a position to help other organizations who are serious about job training, specifically technical job training, to take a look at us as a partner.
Since I graduated, I've been accepted as a consultant from Marriott International. I went from making practically zero to $28 an hour.
Now my day, I wake up, get ready, I have to be at work at 10. I dress up every day to work. I actually have my own office, which I love. I don't have to worry about not having enough money. I'm not on food stamps anymore, Medicaid. I can actually afford to pay for my insurance now. Just being able to have extra money or being able to save, that just means a whole lot, and giving my son whatever he needs. It's something brand new to me, and it's just a better life than it was 7 months ago.
Now it's, say, at least 1,000 times better. I recently got a job that gave me a top secret clearance. Me and my wife, we have our own apartment at the moment, and things are doing nothing but going up. It's hard to describe the whole project, but the name, it really signifies what it is. Hope is what it gives you. You know, because I didn't see the way out, but it provided me the window or the door to the opportunities that I have now.
So many organizations have, for the longest time, relied on their in-house training or their training staff to develop training and then implement it. I think that's a mistake. The organizations out there are looking to build, maintain, and grow a successful job training program for unemployed and underemployed individuals. They need to take a look at what we're doing. We have a proven track record of success, and our goal right now is to spread the wealth and spread the opportunity and begin to educate other organizations and consultants and individuals how to take people and help them get out of poverty through world-class IT training.